Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in time and space. Welcome to Just the Word TV, and thank you for joining our daily morning devotion. This channel is built on one mission to help you hear what God actually said, not tradition, just the Word. So today begins the a new series for us where we're going to be going over the fruit of the Spirit. And why the fruit of the Spirit? As you know, before we've been studying the Beatitudes, and the Beatitudes, if you look at it in its progression, if you notice, it's building something within you. It's building God's character within you. So, if we have been building God's character within us, we have to make sure that we are, exhibiting the fruits of that character. So, when Paul gives us the fruit of the Spirit in Galatians chapter 5, this is fruit that is supposed to be produced from you when you have developed that God-like spirit inside of you, when you've looked through the Beatitudes and really examined yourself and really developed yourself towards that mark of Christ. So for today, we're going to be discussing love. And to begin this devotion, I want you to picture this. You're stuck in bumper to bumper traffic. The minutes are ticking by and you are already late for something important. Suddenly, a car from the next lane soars aggressively into the small gap in front of you, forcing you to slam on your brakes. As if that wasn't enough, the driver glances back and throws a rude gesture your way. What wells up inside of you in that moment? Is it a hot flash of anger, a surge of self-righteousness, a surge of self-righteousness, or is it something else? What would it take for the first response, the gut response, to be something that looks impossibly like love? It's a confronting question, isn't it? Because in the raw, unfiltered moments of life, what's truly inside of us comes out. And as we continue our journey beyond the Beatitudes, exploring the fruit that God wants us to grow in our lives, we come face to face with the very first foundational root of all the others, love. So let's first ground ourselves in the word. Our foundational text for this series is going to come from Galatians chapter 5, from verses 22 to 23, where the Apostle Paul writes, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." So, did you catch what's at the end, at the head of the line? Before joy, before peace, before any other quality, there is love. It's not an accident. It's the anchor. Paul listed first because love is the fertile soil from which all other fruits draw their life. You can't have true spirit-produced joy without love. You can't experience deep, abiding peace without love. Love is the primary color, and all of the colors are beautiful hues derived from it. So this isn't just a Pauline concept. It's the very heartbeat of Jesus' ministry. If you remember in Matthew 22, from verses 37 to 40, when a legal expert trying to test Jesus asks which commandment is the greatest. Out of the 613 intricate laws of the Old Testament, which, by the way, this particular scribe knew them to the exact T. Jesus basically distills the entire divine library into two commands. He says, "Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind." This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. Love your neighbor as yourself. All the law and the prophets hang on these two commandments. Everything, every rule, every prophecy, every story hangs on the hook of love. It is the framework that gives everything else meaning. Then in the upper room, on the night before his crucifixion, Jesus gives his disciples what he calls a new command. In John chapter 13, from verses 34 to 35, he says, "A new command I give you. Love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another." So love isn't just a nice feeling or a good suggestion. It's the official, unmistakable badge of a Christ follower. It's our family resemblance. It's the one thing that should make the world stop and ask, what's different about them? So how do we get this kind of love? This is where our previous journey through the Beatitudes becomes so crucial. Remember when we talked about being merciful? That was God tilling the soil of our hearts, teaching us to give grace instead of judgment. That's a prerequisite for love. And what about being pure in heart? That was God purifying our motives so that we can love people without a hidden agenda, without asking what's in it for me. That is not the type of godly love that we should be looking for. It's not the type of godly love that we should accept from anyone. It's never about what's in it for me. You are just to love because because you love, not because there's something in it for you, not because there's some type of benefit waiting for you. That's not actually love. That's something completely different. The Beatitudes prepare the ground. They plow the hard, rocky soil of our self interest and our pride so that the seed of the supernatural love can take root. Now, it's vital we understand what kind of love the Bible is talking about. The English word love is a bit of a catch all. I love my wife. I love my pizza. I really, really, really love pizza. Chicken vodka pizza, I love it, absolutely love it. And I love the way the sun sets over the ocean. It's all the same word. The Greeks, however, were much more precise. The love mentioned in Galatians and by Jesus is the Greek word agape. This isn't the brotherly affection, the bond that you have with a good friend. This isn't a romantic type of passionate love. Agape is a different category altogether. It's a covenant love, a self giving, choice driven, unconditional love. It's a love that acts for the highest good of the other person, regardless of the feeling or personal cost. This isn't a new idea that just showed up in the Old Testament. It has a deep echo in the Old Testament. In the New Testament, it has a deep echo in the Old Testament. Listen to how God describes his love for Israel in Deuteronomy chapter 7 verses 7 to 8. The Lord did not set his affection on you and choose you because you were more numerous than other peoples, for you were the fewest of all peoples, but it was because the Lord loved you. God's love for Israel wasn't based on their performance, their size, or their merit. It was an elective, steadfast covenant love. He chose to love them. That is agape. That is a love that says, I choose you, I commit to you. I will act for your well being no matter what. Now let's go back to that scene in Matthew chapter 22 with the law expert. This wasn't a friendly Q&A session. A scholar of the law, an expert in the 613 regulations, comes to trap Jesus in his words. He wants to start a theological debate to see if Jesus will trip up on the finer points of the law. But Jesus refuses to get caught in the weeds. He sidesteps the trap and elevates the entire conversation to focus on agape. He essentially tells this expert, you've spent your life studying the leaves of the tree of the law, but you have missed the root system. The root is love for God, and the trunk that grows from it is love for your neighbor. Every other rule is just a branch that gets its life from that source. And if we want to see the ultimate heart stopping picture of this love, we just have to look at the cross. As Jesus hung there, suffocating, tortured, and mocked, he looked at the very people who were killing him and prayed, Father, forgive them. That is the pinnacle of agape love, a love that absorbs the ultimate injustice and returns it with the ultimate grace. And that can feel impossibly grand, can it? So let's bring it down to our world. Think of a man who goes to visit his mother in a nursing home every single day. She has advanced dementia, and most days she has no idea who he is. Some visits are quiet, she just stares blankly at the television. Other days she is agitated and mistakes him for someone from her distant past. A friend once asked him, why do you keep going? What's the point if she doesn't even know you're there? The man thought for a moment and replied, because I know that she's there. My love for her isn't dependent on her recognizing me. I made a promise to honor her, and my presence is part of that promise. This is a modern portrait of agape. It's a love that shows up, a love that serves, a love that honors, not based on the response it receives, but based on a deep, abiding commitment. This is the kind of love God is calling us to cultivate. It's not easy. It's a fruit of the Spirit, which means we can't produce it on our own. It requires us to lean into God and let Him work in us. So, how do we start? Here's a few practical questions we can ask ourselves. First, who in my orbit is hardest to love right now and why? Be absolutely honest with yourself and honest with God about this. Is it a difficult coworker, a family member who constantly misunderstands you, that person who cuts you off in traffic? Acknowledging the difficulty is the first step towards inviting the Spirit to change your heart. Second, do I mistake love for always saying yes? And this is something that I had to learn for myself. Just because you say yes all the time does not mean that it's love, right? Sometimes the most loving thing we can do and say is no. Agape seeks the other person's highest good, and sometimes that means not enabling destructive behavior or allowing ourselves to be mistreated. Love isn't being a doormat, which is why when you're practicing love, right? And when this is why the Beatitudes are so important, because part of understanding the Beatitudes is part of instilling that into your soul is understanding that you can't just love all willy-nilly. You can't just be out there without any boundaries. What you have to understand is that when you are constantly saying yes, when you are constantly enabling other people, you're doing them, you know, a disservice, and you're doing yourself a disservice by enabling. Sometimes, as I just said, The best thing you can do, or the best thing that you can possibly do for a person, is to enable some boundaries where you can say no. Just because you love someone, right? You have love for someone, it does not mean that you are to just they're just to basically walk all over you. They're just to basically, violate any boundaries. And why am I stressing this a lot? Because David, King David, was someone who was, it was said in the Bible, a man after God's own heart, right? But when David wanted to build a temple for God, what did God tell him? Due to the fact that David's hands were dirty, he could not build a temple. So it did not mean that God didn't love David because he told him not to build his temple. God loved David so much that he made sure to put a boundary between the both of them in regards to certain things, so that there's an understanding that God will love you unconditionally. He will love you unconditionally. But when it comes to responsibilities, when it comes to actually reflecting the power, his power, there's going to be some yes and some no's, but it doesn't mean that God does not love you. Remember, God will shut a door right in front of your face just because he loves you. Third question. Where might God be inviting me to set a loving boundary? Just kept talking about boundaries just now. A boundary isn't a wall to push people away. It's a line drawn in love to protect what is valuable, your well-being, your family, your ability to serve God effectively. Setting a boundary can be one of the most agape-driven actions you can take. If you can't tell people, sometimes you have to let people know how to treat you. And that's exactly what a boundary is going to do for you. It's going to let people know how to treat you. And when especially when you're picking up these beatitudes and you're trying to pick up and develop a love for God, you're going to start seeing, and this is what's going to cause some of the mourning where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this is how my life was all this time. You're going to start seeing different areas of your life where you did not set a particular boundary, and because you didn't set a particular boundary, it led to particular actions that led to either your downfall or it led to the downfall of somebody else. Finally, action step for this week, or action step for today. Perform one secret act of kindness. Cover your neighbor's driveway before they wake up. Pay for the coffee of the person behind you in line. Leave an anonymous note of encouragement for a coworker. Tell no one but God. This is about training our hearts to act in love without ever needing the reward of recognition. So I hope that this particular devotion today was able to inspire you. I hope it was able to give you a little bit more insight about what love truly is. And the one thing that I want you to understand about love, love does not mean that you are to be a doormat. And no place in the Bible did God allow any person to take advantage of his power, right? They may have seemed to be, it may have seemed to be like they were taking advantage of his love, but when it came to giving out responsibilities, when it came to who God was going to use, God made sure that he set up proper boundaries, or he created proper boundaries, because we as human beings, if we don't have boundaries set, even for ourselves, with ourselves or with other people, people will cross the line. People will do things that are basically inhumane because you fail to give that boundary. Don't think that because you're saying no means that you don't love anyone. And don't think that because someone is telling you no, that they don't love you. A no is also a sign that someone loves you. No, I don't want you to protect, or I don't want you to engage in that particular act because it's going to push you away from God. No, I don't want you to do that because it's only going to make you depressed afterwards. It may feel good right now in that particular moment, but after that moment is done, that short, fleeting moment is done, right? It's going to affect you in a way that you're going to have a hard time recovering from. So I hope that this allows you to know in this beginning stages for you to understand that love is not meant for someone to take advantage of you. Love is something that is God-given. It is something that is unconditional, but is unconditional with boundaries. Do not go out there, everyone. If you're listening to this video, please do not go out there loving everyone or loving anyone without any boundaries. I guarantee you, even if their intentions are good, they will take complete advantage of you. Just because someone has good intentions, and at some point in time, I'm going to talk about the meaning of good. Because just because something you think is good doesn't mean that it's actually good. Just because someone has good intentions for you doesn't mean that the outcome of those good intentions are going to be good. So, with that being said, Until next time, I ask that you stay grounded, ask that you stay humbled, and above all else, stay aligned with just the word. Thank you.